Thank you, Elaine and Ellen. I think you've really demonstrated about the concrete steps that can actually make capital flow at scale. And that should be the theme that goes out throughout the day. So this next session is intended to be a lot more interactive than the last one. Can I have a quick show of hands, both in the room and online, who has watched Dragon's Den on TV? Yep, I'm seeing quite a big few hands up. So, well, this is the moment that you've all been waiting for. You all get the chance to be a dragon today. Pretty exciting. We have 3 projects that are going to be presented. These are examples of projects that have high potential for commercial viability and combine financial, social, and environmental returns. We are excited to announce that each of these 3 projects will be receiving technical assistance from the Landscape Finance Lab as their investment. You, as the dragons, get to decide what type of technical assistance each of these projects will get. Some of you may not be so familiar with the Landscape Finance Lab. So what is it that we do at the lab? The lab supports practitioners and investors to structure, launch, and finance deals at scale, at a landscape scale. As you can see on the screen, there are 3 key areas during the life cycle during which the Landscape Finance Lab can offer technical assistance. The first is landscape assessment. This involves assessing where in its life cycle the landscape is and how to bring alignment between different stakeholders around a common landscape goal. The second is financial analysis. This involves identifying investable propositions, engaging with investors, as well as structuring of financial instruments. And the third is impact measurement. This is alignment with standards, targets, metrics, and SDG goals. So as mentioned at the outset, you are the dragons, but given there isn't enough space for all of you on stage, we have some representative dragons in person, read it, and a couple online, Hussein and Elvira. They will actually ask some of the relevant questions, which will hopefully enable you to make the right decisions. Ultimately, the choice of investment is yours. So I think there'll be a Slido coming up soon. Okay, the way that this will work is that you will see a different QR code for each project on the screen, right? So there'll be 3 different QR codes. You can scan this QR code with your phone. If that doesn't work, then please go to slido.com and enter plenary hall so that you see how that's spelled on the screen. At the end of each presentation, for each of the projects, you will choose which type of technical assistance that you believe the project will benefit from the most. Is it landscape assessment, which involves evaluating key characteristics of the landscape? Is it financial analysis, assessing, structuring the financing requirements? Or will the project benefit most from impact measurement, aligning with standards and targets? You'll only be able to make one choice for each project. Given the quality of the projects and where they are in their life cycle, I'm sure we could spend many hours with each of the different talented individuals who are presenting today. However, we're going to have to limit them to 3 minutes each. This is not something I can do on my own, so I'm going to need your help to keep them to time. When you see me lift my hand up like this, that means that the 3 minutes are up and you have to start clapping. And those of you on Zoom, I think there's a clap icon, so we can see you clapping as well. So I'm going to start by letting you practice your clapping skills after each of our dragons have introduced themselves. I think there's a couple of dragons online who hopefully have logged in. Good morning, Hussein. And Elvira will be online as well. But Hussein, you have 30 seconds to introduce yourself. At 30 seconds, the audience will start clapping. Your time starts now.
My name is Hussein Demirser. I am in investment business for 25 years. Out of this, 15 years specifically in impact investment space. I am the CEO of Bit Capital Partners. It's an investment advisory and asset management firm in Sub-Saharan Africa. We manage 2 funds. One of them is Rwanda Startup Fund of Rwanda ICT and Innovation Ministry. And the second one is the Impact Mezzanine Fund, which is investing with the general land focus for the agri-SMEs supporting sustainable landscapes in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hussein. Elvira, I think you're online as well, so if you could please introduce yourself. Just give us a second.
Yeah, now I have to.
Just give us.
Now I have to beat the 25 seconds. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, good night for some of you. We at Finance in Motion operate in Africa, Europe, and all of Latin America and the Caribbean. We invest in climate solutions, mitigation and adaptation, and in biodiversity and conservation solutions. And we do that mainly through a decarbonization stream, through sustainable agriculture, and through sustainable timber operations. And who's interested, come to see us.
Thank you very much, Elvira. Edith, you have 30 seconds. Off you go.
Thanks. Good morning. Pleasure to be here. My name is Edith Kiss. I'm Chief Investment Officer at Revalue Nature. We are a next-generation nature-based project developer. And my background is in carbon markets, spent 17 plus years in various parts of the carbon markets value chain, of which 9 in impact investing, using carbon finance as part of the impact investing thesis. And I have spent the last year on the project development side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our first pitch will be from Sundar Bhardwaj, CEO of Terra Green South Africa. And the dragons that will be giving feedback on this project are Edith and Hussein. Sundar, welcome.
Thank you, Rupal. Good morning to the dragon on the stage, online, as well as the investment community in the room and in online. I'm Sundar Bhardwaj, co-founder and CEO of Terra Green. A couple of years back, I quit a very successful corporate life, invested a large part of my savings, and started Terra Green with 2 co-founders. Terra Green is a private sector venture focused on restoring degraded landscapes using regenerative techniques such as chemical-free, no-tilling, soil regeneration, and rainwater harvesting. Our first project is in South Africa, where we are leasing land from the local communities in Mpumalanga. The communities have had the land for several decades, but have not been able to use it productively due to lack of financial support and skills. Terra Green will be employing thousands of local people, especially women and young people, to create a biodiverse agroforest with hundreds of plant species, including bamboo, fruit trees, indigenous plants, cover crops, and cereal crops. We will also be offering shareholding in the business to the local community to create long-term generational wealth. The Terra Green business model is about sustainably harvesting bamboo to create multitude of revenue streams. For example, we will create pellets and hydrogen for the energy sector and transportation sector, biochar for the agricultural sector, bamboo poles and planks for the construction and furniture making sectors, and harvesting fruits and crops for the food sector. We've already received over $2 million in seed money from angels and also technical assistance grants from the Subnational Climate Fund. We've put this money to good use by executing in a pilot on 220 hectares of land, employing 42 local people. A nature-based asset, once created, addresses climate change, food security, energy transition, as well as socioeconomic development for the local population. A project like Terra Green typically requires $8,000 to $10,000 per hectare in investment due to the regenerative approach as well as permanent employment we offer. However, the good news is Terra Green is modular in design and completely scalable. So depending on the amount of money that we get, we're able to roll out the forest. So for example, if you had 8 million, thank you.
Thank you, Sundar. Very informative. And I think, Edith, maybe if you can ask a couple of questions just to Sundar, and then that will be followed by a couple of questions from Hussein, and then Sundar will respond in one go.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Sundar. It's a very interesting regenerative approach, very well needed, and great to hear the scalability and replicability. And I think you were about to get to that, so I'll ask on that, because I have seen a bit more information that what you could hear now, and you have a very big ambition, 2 billion, I think. So it would be interesting to hear the modular approach you started to elaborate on how you can make it into stages and potentially phase it for investors to make it a bit more digestible, and also to de-risk perhaps for the larger ticket size, because I believe also you need a bit of a lower cost of capital than a venture type returns. So that would be one question. And then if you have time as well, a bit to maybe tell the audience about the implementation challenges. What is your biggest challenge to scale? Thank you.
Thank you. Hussein, if you could go ahead and ask your questions as well.
Thank you. I also had the chance to read a bit more in detail. So how are you planning to manage so many different stakeholders? Because you have a very circular, very extensive reach to very different stakeholders and the community leaders, and also the financiers. How are you planning to manage all those stakeholders? And my second question is actually, so that you can continue to talk about your model and the pricing. How many hectares of planting do you need for this project to reach break-even point, and how much time it will take? Thank you.
Thank you, Hussein. Tech team, if I could ask that you put the Slido code on the screen while Sundar hopefully responds to these. Dragons, if you could cast your vote while Sundar is giving the response as to what type of technical assistance you believe that Sundar and Terra Green should receive. Thanks, Sundar.
Thank you very much. I'll respond to both questions as a continuous approach. As I mentioned, it's a modular approach, which means that we can deploy the infrastructure and growth of agroforest and measure impacts as we go along. And when you have a clear understanding on the economic case and the impact it creates to communities, we effectively are able to raise capital through the various mechanisms and instruments. But we do need help from the investment community for that. And one of the most important aspects is it's a long-term project. It's a nature project. So it has a long-term gestation period. And our FCF will be somewhere beyond the first 10 years. But we do create attractive returns, the early mid-teens over a 15-year period, plus all the macro benefits that we create.
Thank you. I think, tech team, if you could put up the Slido results as they're evolving. Seems like the majority of the dragons have voted for financial analysis. So Sundar, look forward to working with you from the lab in terms of actually looking at the financial side and the financial model further.
Thank you
very
Rupal.
much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time.
Our second pitch will be from Sebastian de la Hoz, the Managing Director of Green Balam, Guatemala. And the dragons that will be giving feedback are Elvira and Edith. Sebastian, just want to check that you're online?
Yep, I'm
Great.
here.
Perfect, thank you. Your 3 minutes starts now.
Hello, I'm Sebastian de la Hoz. I'm Managing Director of Green Balam Forests. We are a private company working to restore the Maya Biosphere Reserve in Guatemala, where we face huge problems from cattle ranching, especially, which drives to forest fires, illegal logging. And ultimately, we also have a lack of access to national finance options in Guatemala to tackle these issues in a landscape and long-term scale. Our nature-based solution is to designate and restore a biological corridor of 15,000 hectares, where we will reconnect crucial areas for biodiversity by planting more or less 5 million trees. We are acquiring land and also partnering with local landowners who want to adopt sustainable land use management. We are a Guatemalan company with a local team of workers, and together we consult on land use conversion from cattle pasture to agroforestry, reforestation for sustainable harvesting, and conservation for biodiversity to create landscape that is sustainable for our communities as we face increasing pressure from climate change. Our business model is all about ensuring resilience resilience through diversity and connectivity by our business. By designing mosaic management approaches, we provide landowners and investors with a portfolio that can be tailored to individual contexts. For us, it is very important to demonstrate these options. So we own and manage 2 experimental forest projects where people can visit and see the practice in action. Our management plans and monitoring frameworks are co-created with the government forestry department to align with the incentive programs and certification requirements. Our restoration designs combine multiple income streams to ensure sustainability, like carbon credits and incentives, and TFP, harvesting, ecotourism, sustainable timber, and we plan to incorporate also biodiversity credits in the future. We are also forming alliances locally and internationally to secure supply chains. The corridor project will create a participatory restoration network generating social benefits such as socioeconomic development through lots of local jobs creation and educational programs, improved food security, well-being, nature recreation spaces, and cultural heritage revival. We are also providing environmental benefits like large-scale carbon capture with an estimated height of 300,000 tons of carbon sequestered per year, as well as endangered species, habitat creation, ecological connectivity, and ecosystem services strengthening. To achieve this, we need a demonstration grant to finish our baseline surveys and consultation within the corridor area. We are also looking for seed capital or equity for $750,000 to assist with the cost of upscaling our income-generating activities.
Thank you, Sebastian. Your 3 minutes is up.
Okay.
Thank you. Elvira, I think you may be online. If you wanted to go first, perhaps.
Yes, with pleasure. And I think Sebastian needs a round of applause because it's 4 o'clock in the morning for him. So here's to your resilience. Well done. I think this is a super important, very well integrated, very comprehensive project. Applause to that as well. Very, very impressive. And I have to say that Edith and myself had a little bit of time to also look at the documentation that was sent to us earlier. So we have maybe a little bit more insights into the project because this is a lot of information to take in. But let me dive right into the core question. Could you illustrate or inform us a little bit more about the economics of the various income streams that you have? And also corresponding to that, the impact potential, biodiversity, carbon sequestering, et cetera, et cetera. I know you were rushed for time, but still, I think a little bit more depth there would be helpful. And then connected to that, do you have already feedback from donors, investors, foundations, how they look at you, how they are likely to finance you or not? I pose that question because that kind of feedback is always very, very important to further fine-tune not only the pitch, but the project and the offering as such. And we are quick dragons today, but I think reflection on that process is always very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elvira. Anything else to add to that?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Sebastian, echoing Elvira. It's a beautiful project. Congratulations with this integrated landscape approach. Really nice to see all those multiple revenue streams. A little bit building on Elvira's comments, I'm also interested to hear a bit more around these different revenue streams, whether you see a potential to build on one of them, a few of them first, like is there a quicker potential maybe for carbon, NTFP, ecotourism takes time, or just to hear how you're thinking about, because that's That's the beauty of multiple revenue streams, but also challenge of implementation for investors. So is there maybe one or two of those various streams that can be implemented faster to help de-risk the project? And I'm also interested to hear about I believe the total target is 15,000 hectares for 25 years. That's a long time. So if there is a way to go faster, what's your biggest bottlenecks to go to that scale faster? Thank you.
Thanks, Edith. Sebastian, if you could go ahead and provide responses.
Yeah, for the revenues, like carbon, timber, non-timber forestry products, and ecotourism are the four main revenues that we are looking for. Carbon, it's like in a 2-year, will be returns. Non-timber forestry products from all the areas where there is forest, we can extract non-timber forestry products sustainably. The long-term, mid-term, and long-term will be timber and ecotourism. We've had a little bit of feedback from other institutions, and they asked us to strengthen a little bit more the financial part of our project, especially on getting what would be the return rate, like more in the different revenues. And in the 15,000 hectares, it's a whole project, and it's 25 years because that's more or less what the carbon life cycle needs. And but we are planning to establish the project in 5 years. That's our target.
Thank you, Sebastian. Tech team, if I could please ask you to put up the QR code, and I will give the Dragons 30 seconds to please cast your votes. I think the results are quite clear. It's financial analysis again. Sebastian, at the Landscape Finance Lab, we will be delighted to work with you on the financial analysis for your project. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Our final pitch will be from Kofi Deborah, founder of Oko Forests in Ghana, and the Dragons that will be giving feedback on this are Elvira and Hussein. Kofi, there we go, you're on screen. Good to meet you again, and your time starts now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Great to be here, an honor. All right, I'll get stuck in. So as a kid in Ghana, I played under tall, beautiful trees serving as a vital canopy on my granddad's cocoa farm. And several years later, I witnessed beautiful, large trees being cut down to plant cash crops. And I spoke with a farmer called Kweku, who told me that he must cut down the trees to plant maize for his family to survive. So he viewed the shade the trees provide as his enemy. And so what I realized then was the cycle of poverty, the cycle of deforestation, and the cycle of our climate catastrophe are all interlinked. And to break one, we would need to break all. And the large forests and trees must serve as an economic driver to break the poverty cycle that farmers are locked into. And the long-term value that trees hold currently cannot be realized by the farmers. And I asked myself why. And diving deeper into the causes of deforestation in Ghana, I discovered the absence of government-verified land rights incentivizes the traditional authority, who are the main landowners, and farmers to continue destructive practices, and also prevents conservation and regeneration projects from scaling to the size Ghana needs to meet its NDCs. So how do we solve this? So our program provides a systemic solution. We support farmers and the traditional authorities to receive government verification and enter into legally backed long-term land use agreements. So formalizing land title and land use agreements is necessary for landowners to access the carbon market and traditional financial mechanisms, such as insurance, loans, and and investments which will diversify and reduce the risks. So this incentivizes farmers to plant, nurture, and protect trees, which generates greater revenue through carbon credits and timber. So this arrangement increases the benefits and shares it with all the key stakeholders. Now, to solve the land title problem, we partnered with Ben, an internationally recognized land tech firm, to establish a digital platform to document Ghana's complex land and tree ownership regimes. We are using tried and tested technology.
Kofi, I think we're having some tech issues here and we can't seem to hear
Be
you.
put onto public ledger, built on the ground stakeholders. We're currently, can you hear me now?
Yes, but your 3 minutes is also up.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Kofi. Sorry, you did lose 10 seconds there, but I'll give you that back during the feedback session. Hussein, could you ask first any questions that you may have?
Thank you. First of all, I need to make a disclaimer because I realized that I am one of the investors in the company that Kofi is working with, which I wasn't aware of. I'm very happy to hear that. Small world. My question, when I look at your deck, it didn't give me any idea about your revenue streams. Your company's revenue streams and how we have structured that. And my second question related to that, yes, I know, and we know that you are here to raise capital as well, but other than capital, as of now, what do you need most from the financiers or the other technical assistance providers to support you and make your project successful? And the last one is, I see that there are many similarities, at least with the intention with TerraGreen. I would recommend you to talk to them. You can learn a lot from them because you're a bit on an earlier stage company compared to TerraGreen. In that sense, do you have any agreements in place already, leasing agreements, offtake agreements for your community that you are operating in, and also for your company? Thank you.
Thank you, Hussein.
Great.
Sorry, I'll just ask Elvira to ask her questions,
Cool.
and then if you could consolidate your answer, that would be great. Thank you. Elvira?
Very good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kofi, for also reminding us what it is all about. You spoke about the cycle of poverty and how it all interlinks. So thank you for that. I think we can very easily relate to your narrative, to your investment theme. And building on what Hussein said, I would be interested to understand better from you, how do you actually measure success? And what are your final objectives here, so that we can also really get a better understanding of your trajectory. And again, linked to that, I'd really love to know what holds you back most. What are the bottlenecks that you face the most, the hurdles? Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you for those questions. So I'll start with, we need help sort of how we can increase the value of our carbon credits, and also assistance on how we can sort of reduce the cost of monitoring whilst improving accuracy, because it costs quite a lot to for monitoring. So this sort of like eats into our margins. In terms of other than funding, there's many. In terms of people in the audience, there's a lot of seasoned professionals. So we'd love some assistance on various elements of organizational management, which can accelerate our development, such as financial management, to governance, to name a few. And so we're also in the process of scoping out an advisory board. So if anyone in the audience is sort of touched by our work, we'd love to talk to you. Yes, it'd be great to also be in touch with TerraGreen. And then also, I think there was a question about our revenue revenue streams. So revenue streams would be, so we would take a share of the carbon credits and also value of the timber. And I think then I'll go over to, in terms of measuring
Kofi, unfortunately, I think
success.
the tech has broken.
So we plan to conduct University of Science. Okay, can you hear me now?
We're struggling, and I think we're up with time, so
Okay.
I will ask the Dragons to now vote. Tech team, if you could please put up the QR code for Oko Forests. And Dragons, if you could cast your vote, please. Huh. It's come up as financial analysis. I would have thought that would have been impact measurement. Oh well. Thank you very much. We look forward to working with you on the financial analysis side. Sundar, Sebastian, Kofi, I'm sure that I can speak on behalf of the audience that we are excited to see how your projects evolve. And from the Landscape Finance Lab's perspective, I look forward to working with all of you. And I think you will be able to find more detail about these projects on the GLF website, which should hopefully be coming up shortly. Yeah, so the QR code, and you can find out more about the projects on this website. With that, I would like to close off by saying thank you to all the project leads who presented, the Dragons, and of course, most importantly, all the Dragons in the room and online. You have made the right decisions. Thank you.